streams to filter through this land of ours and fill a sportsman's dreams. Enjoy what nature holds for us, her bounty never ends. Getting back to basics with the practical sportsman. It's always an adventure, no matter where we go. From a favorite hunting spot to the hottest fishing pole. Outdoor life we all can share with family and friends. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman. We'll do it all together with a practical sportsman.
Hi there, come on in. It is Thursday night, June 6th, the year 2002. And Zachary is going to fess up to where we've been the past couple of weeks.
We're at the southern tip of the Baja Peninsula in Mexico.
Doing what?
Doing a little deep sea fishing in the Sea of Cortez.
And we did a little catch and release and a little catch and fillet. Now, we're not going to bring the Mexican story to you tonight, but we will be bringing you stories of catch and release, catch and fillet, and flip-flops that have been going on in America on this very subject. So please, stay tuned. Memorial Day weekend not only brought us a long holiday weekend, but it also brought the opening of bass season for most of the inland lakes and most of the areas in the state. Now, bass fishing is fun. It's been something that has been a catch and release fishery that's been promoted by the tournaments and the diehard bass fishermen. We're going to talk about that right after we look at this feature, but this is one that we did on a Traverse City lake about 13 years ago. Now, Bing McClellan, rest his soul, has passed away, but he opened the door to us seeing things about bass behavior that were really a lot of fun, and that's what fishing is all about. So check out this bass feature and look at the fun you can have toying with the bass if you catch them on the beds.
The boat we're going to be fishing from, well, it's a small boat, a small bass boat. We're going to fit 4 of us in here, and of course that angler has the luxury of fishing by himself. He's probably trolling for walleye off the drop-offs, but we're going to be fishing the shallows around the edges of this lake. You can see dark patches of weeds, and we'll see light patches of the bass beds and bluegill beds. Bob Garner, Bing McClellan, and myself, along with John Ford, cameraman, working the shores using primarily a bait that Bing's company makes. He's the president of Burke Flexo Lures. They make flexible lures like these. They call them wigwags. Sort of a twister tail. There's a number of products on the market like this. The flexible plastic, which imitate various baits. This imitates a minnow. That flexible tail wiggles in the water. It doesn't stay curled like that when you move it. It attracts a lot of fish, little fish. Pull it a little quicker and the tail straightens out and wiggles. And it really attracts the bluegills in the shallows. Look at them all chasing it. They'll grab it. They'll nip at the tail. Of course, that soft plastic probably feels more like a fish, and they'll nail it time and time again. Whereas we're not after fish this size. We're after the bigger ones. We're after smallmouth bass, a cousin of the bluegill, and this one is guarding its nest.
See it right in the bed?
Yeah, right off the
see him come to it?
Yeah.
Watch. See him walk. See him move. See him?
Just moving it away.
He just took it off the bed. I didn't set the hook because I wanted.
That's what the smallmouth do when anything comes near their nest. They're guarding it to chase it away. Now, this is not the female bass. The female lays the eggs, and she goes over the drop-offs, goes out into deeper water, lets the male guard the nest. What Bing is doing here, he's throwing one of his larger plastic lures at it, something a little bigger to really intimidate that bass. He doesn't like it near his nest, and he moves it away, picks it up with his mouth and moves it away. Now, on one hand, this makes these bass easy to catch. But on the other hand, they don't swallow it. They're not looking to eat very often when they're on the beds. They want to pick it up and move it away. Watch this.
He's going to pick it up. There he goes.
Oh!
See what I can do with
He
it.
moves it off the bed. We're just trying to see what that bass will do, how much of this it can take. You know, so many fish spook in shallow water. They spook in clear water. But when a fish is guarding a spawning bed, it becomes very adamant about guarding those eggs. There's so many things that can go in after it. There, I just cast one of the little wigwags, and he picked it up. I tried to set the hook, couldn't do it. Now this is a little too far away from the nest, so Mr. Smallmouth moves back in to guard it. There's a wigwag. Let's see if, that's right on the bed, so he's going to pick it up. At least knock it out of the way. The male bass guards these beds, and they're very vulnerable to fishing. I mean, they're a real sucker for a bait or a lure, and so often they get hooked. There he goes.
See, he had it in his mouth.
Moves it away, sets it aside. But they're very vulnerable to predation. They're not even intimidated by the repeated casting of the lure and repeatedly moving that bait out of there, but when we move the boat closer, we get within 10 feet, the bass starts to back away, but he doesn't want to leave the area. Now, if this bass is removed from this bed, no other bass will come in and guard it, because that's his bed, and the eggs have a likelihood of being eaten by other fish. Now, there's a number of other fish that will come in and prey on these, and here we have some suckers working the shallows over beds where probably the bass have been removed.
Kept the other day.
Yeah, you see there's almost 7 bass beds in there all at once. But those are all suckers, and they're in there eating the eggs that somebody's been in here catching the buck bass, the male bass, off of the beds.
Boy, oh boy.
That happens. Here Bing ties into a smallmouth, though. He's into catch and release fishing. Always has been, because he enjoys catching them. Taught me something about this that I didn't know.
Now, I'm going to show you something that you may not know on how to land bass, smallmouth in particular. If you can zoom in now or get this.
Yeah, I will.
I'm going to have to sit there, Bob. Right?
What he's going to do is pick this bass up and paralyze it.
Oh, just lift it up underneath the...
He's paralyzed.
No kidding.
Absolutely paralyzed. What you've done is force his entrails up into his central nervous system, which runs along the spine, and you paralyzed him.
Well, can you do that again? Put him back in the water and get him?
Sure.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, it takes off.
Yes. And you bring him back in. What you have to do is not squeeze him. You have to simply hold him on the bottom.
Lift him up.
That's all. I'll be down. Just hold him.
Isn't that something? I never knew you could paralyze a bass by picking it up gently from the belly. I've always learned the lip method, and that paralyzes a fish too, holding it by the lower lip. But this was an amazing discovery, which I tried on every fish I caught. It doesn't work on the real small ones, but here's a largemouth bass we caught in a shallow area of a little warmer water. I tried the same thing with this bass, and it works.
I don't know where he came from. He must have been at the edge of those beds.
Yeah, he just exploded.
Yeah, he's not ready to call it quits yet. Boy, look at the bluegill. John,
Yeah.
pan up and look at the bluegill right there. Coming in after him. You can see him just thick in the water there.
Yeah.
Just thick. Well, I'll try this.
Now, I
New
work
method.
on that sucker. He's big enough to belly land.
Sure. There we go. I tell you, I can't believe it, Bink. I just can't believe it.
I couldn't
I haven't
believe
had
that.
one
It worked
from
on every single fish we tried, the larger ones. A bluegill, it really won't work, but the bass, Bing says it works on walleye, a number of species where the weight of their body pushes the entrails up against their backbone and paralyzes them. And you can release them, ready to be caught again. When fishing is this easy and this much fun, even I will put off catching fillet for another day.
I mentioned earlier that there's been a flip-flop in this catch and release concept on fishing. At least the mandatory, you've got to toss the fish back for the future of fishing. This week I want to mention the In Fisherman magazine, which is just a top drawer fishing magazine. Here's an issue, Quest for Monster Fish. They really have promoted catch and release almost exclusively, but did you catch the In Fisherman television show on TNN last weekend? Oh, this was a breath of fresh air. Here are some of the quotes that were stated on this show. Eating fish is a wonderful outdoor tradition that links us to our environment. We want to continue the tradition of eating some fish. Fish are nutritious and delicious. Nothing wrong with keeping and eating smaller bass, pike, and walleye. We can enjoy nutritious and delicious meals of smaller fish if they're harvested wisely. They're a renewable resource. Well, hallelujah. At long last, I hear a word that was used traditionally back in the 50s and 60s. The traditional value of harvesting fish and game as a renewable resource is something that I grew up with, but has been kind of lost recently. Now I hope it's coming back. These fish reproduce continually. There's nothing wrong with harvesting a good share of them because they replace themselves. That's what a renewable resource is. But you know, catch and fillet is fun in itself. The catch and release as a total concept, throwing all your fish back, just doesn't cut the mustard, which is a segue into this recipe.
We received an excellent recipe for walleye from Joanne Rodman from Westland called mustard fillets.
You know, a lot of people aren't going to really care for that. They're going to say mustard on walleye is going to ruin it. Look, you know that walleye hardly has any of the lateral line, that dark mud line.
Just a tiny bit of it there.
Oh, you really need to cut that off on salmon and a lot of the other fish. But oh, look at that, those clean.
That one is excellent. That's an excellent piece of fish there.
White fillets.
And you're going to put the fillets into a greased dish, casserole dish, and then make a sauce out of, well, you can make like a thickening, just regular white sauce.
I see an extremely simple recipe coming up.
It is, and very tasty. Just your butter and a little bit of flour and then milk. And you want to keep that stirring constantly. Then you're going to make a sauce out of salt and pepper and mustard and just a little bit of horseradish. And that little bit just really gives it an extra zing.
You know, I've told this about this recipe to several people, and they don't have a good reaction to that mustard sauce on fish.
Oh, but it does add something to it. You want to let this cook until it just gets a consistency of French toast. And then just pour that on the walleyes and then let it bake for a few minutes.
It's going to be interesting to see how that tastes. You know, Bob Garner sometimes goes for these baked recipes, but sometimes he doesn't. What do you think? Is he going to like it?
I think so.
This recipe, if you find somebody that doesn't like it, it's time to take them to a shrink. This is a delicious fish recipe, and that little bit of mustard and just a barest hint of horseradish. It is not a hot recipe, but a barest hint of horseradish just is very flavorful.
Makes it taste like a Dijon mustard, but just really adds to the walleye.
Keep talking, keep talking.
Hey, what are you doing?
I'm eating. No, this, you know, I thought when I first tasted this with a succulent white walleye, I thought it was whitefish.
Oh, no.
Just like whitefish. It's, it's just excellent.
Yep, the fillets were very good to start with.
Hey, best reason in the world to get out, get a few jigs, some crawlers, and go catch some walleye.
Why don't we cut all this chatter and just do it?
Good idea.
This is great.
And that is the ultimate purpose of catch and fillet, to cook what we catch.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that recipe, Zach?
I think it looked good. I think it would be a really good afternoon recipe too. Slap that in between some hamburger buns, maybe some lettuce, tomato on there.
Well, you've always been very inventive. In fact, I thought for a while you were going to go into the restaurant business when you were younger.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but you like to cook.
Yes.
And this is a way of announcing that Zach will be back in the kitchen here in our Practical Sportsman cabin, brewing up some recipes, some inventions that you have, plus because you like to do it. And that's what hunting and fishing is about, things we like to do. We don't cook because we have to necessarily, but because we like to. What about catch and release fishing? Where does that fit in your scheme?
Well, I think if it's something that you're not going to cook up anyway or fillet out, and it's just a sport fish, fun to catch, and put it out there for another day, there's nothing wrong with that.
What about a kid who catches a big fish?
Well, if you want to get it mounted, take it to the taxidermist by all means. But if you're just going to take it back just to show people, hey, look at this big fish, and then pitch it, that's no good.
That's true, and that's the value, the traditional value that we'd like to instill in people through this TV show, either catch and fillet or catch and release if you're not going to use it, or catch it and get it mounted. And this little fella here caught a bass that he's very proud of, and he won it in the worst way to get it mounted.
From Blanchard, this young man's name is Casey Bollinger, and you got a largemouth bass, Lake Isabella. That's a pretty big lake.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about it. You sound like you got a story here.
Well, me and my uncle were fishing, and I cast it over towards some weeds, and I thought I got tangled here. I was using a little panfish hook.
Oh, that little teeny hook there. Well, man, that's a number 10 or 12.
And so I started pulling at it some more, and I noticed it was coming toward me more, And so my drag broke on it was just a little Zebco pole. I didn't have my pole with me. It was my grandpa's. And so he started pulling it on the line. And he got it close, and he goes, "You got a fish." I go, "Really?" So I looked down. This thing, I seen its head and its eyes, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah.
And so we finally got it in. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that thing is huge!" So when we got back, we called my mom and told her tell Dad to come over to Grandma's when we get back because got a big fish.
And when they saw it, what'd they say?
Dad was pretty happy for me. My grandpa asked me if I was going to throw it back.
Good. And you told him?
I'm going to mount the thing.
Good work. Well, that's a big boy. 6 pounds, 4 ounces, 22 inches long. And when you look at that, look down there, John. Holy crap. Something else. Casey, way to go. Good story.
Which is better, bat or man-made radar? Bat sonar or echolocation is superior to man-made systems. Thousands of bats can safely navigate in underground caves. Bats can separate insect echoes from background noise, and they can detect prey at ground level, something radar systems have great difficulty doing.
But don't spare this weekend, folks. Get outdoors if you can. It's a great place to be. And Zachary and I will see you back here next week.
Jeff Reimer from Romulus was here last year at the fishing banquet, and he said he'd be back next year, and here he is, but with a turkey he got at the end of April. Washtenaw County, down where the big bucks are.
Didn't see no bucks, but did see this.
So, you mean in the spring?
In the spring.
You didn't see deer?
No.
It's interesting because there's a ton of deer down there.
I was only out there for about 2 hours with this, so
You mean from 6:30 in the morning to 8:30?
I was back at home at 9:30.
Holy cow. An easy hunt.
Too easy. Too easy.
Too easy? Like boring?
No, not boring. Never boring out there. Just what little bit of time's out there is never boring.
What, did you call it in, or did?
Yeah, I called it. I had decoys out, and then I got on the box call and called. I'd probably call a few minutes, probably rest about 20 minutes. I'd hear a gobble out way off in the distance, and finally I stopped calling for about a half hour. And I just up and looked, and there it come. I just waited for a spot, seen a spot in the middle of the woods for me to shoot. Shot.
Was it coming to your decoys?
No, it didn't even see the decoys. Didn't see me or the decoys. Just kept walking this trail, so I knew where it was going, on the trail. So I just waited. There was an opening, and I shot.
Jeff Reimer from Romulus, congratulations. Great turkey. 9-inch beard.